Welcome to Star Wars News. Wow, what a week in the galaxy. The Mandalorian dropped. So excited to break that down. And also J.J. Abrams gives us some insight into the rise of Skywalker and Maclunkey.
Star Wars News!
Welcome to the ship! Clearly we're pumped. Thank you, Disney Plus, for providing us more excitement than ever for our galaxy.
What's that? I was watching Empire Strikes Back on my phone because it's so readily available.
He actually was before we started the show. You guys, welcome back to another week of Star Wars News. Such a great week to be talking this. So many exciting things happening. Before we get into it, I'm Steph Sabra, aka Chewbacca's long lost daughter, aka Master Sabra. That one got added on our Mandalorian after show on AfterBuzz TV. But I am not on the ship alone. I have my co-pilot, Rilo Ren, Ryan Nilsson in the building.
So excited to be here. Head of Popcorn Talk and co-host, co-pilot of the Mandalorian After Show and the Star Wars News Show. So excited. Episode 2, biggest week maybe in Star Wars for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Like, this is huge.
Massive. The first live action Star Wars show. I am so excited about it. And we keep talking about it. We are on the our sister network, AfterBuzz TV. We do after shows and we break down The Mandalorian each week. So we'll be on Friday at noon. But this week in Star Wars news, like I said, we'll be talking about The Mandalorian and kind of get our insight on chapter 1, which was episode 1, and then the cast and producers and crew and directors did a live Q&A
last
night, so that will be really exciting. That was at the
El Capitan Theater in Los Angeles.
And then of course the Maclunkey, the rare deleted scenes on Disney Plus, and some Jedi Fallen Order news, which drops tomorrow. It's a video game.
Big time.
Looks really exciting. We did a live reaction to it.
Yeah, we did a live reaction to the trailer that came out a month ago when we were in the early stages of development of this show, and it's done pretty well on our gaming channel. And I am getting the game. It's pre-ordered. It's downloading tonight at midnight. I'm so excited to talk about that.
I can't wait to hear how it is next week.
Yes.
And then we have some special segments.
That's right. We got, of course, our words of wisdom at the end of the show. We close out each show with some kind words to go into the rest of your week or your weekend. We also have a character corner where we break down an obscure character in Star Wars lore. Even an extra in this universe has a backstory. And our theory segment. There's a theory.
There's a theory.
There's a theory where we break down one of the more popular theories circulating around the Star Wars universe.
Awesome. Okay, let's jump into The Mandalorian. You can hear a more extensive breakdown on AfterBuzz, but I do want to give some of our listeners on this show, what'd you think of Chapter 1?
That's right. I'm in the chat, by the way, y'all, so comment away. We got Manny Gonzalez saying, hey, Ryan, awesome. Hoping for a cool show today. Yeah, we are too.
What do you mean? Of course there's going to be a cool show. What?
Come on, Manny.
What do you think, we're lame?
Man up, Manny. God. Also, Darth Baca. We have a Darth in the chats.
Darth Baca. It sounds like a
Chewbacca.
Yeah,
a
mixture.
Dark Chewbacca. Grrr.
That was not a chewy growl. That was a roll my R's growl.
That was a purr.
Yeah.
But Mandalorian dropped. And we were so excited. I got to see it at 11 p.m. on Monday night.
You called me.
I did call you. I was like, Steph, it's up. It's live. And just battened down. I think I've watched it 3 times since Monday night.
I've watched it twice, but I'm going to watch it one more time before Chapter 2 comes out.
So let's give some brief overall thoughts.
Okay, overall thoughts, epic. I thought we got way more action than I thought. I mean, it makes sense with $100 million budget, I believe they have for it. Yeah. But glad that they didn't disappoint. I thought that we got some great callbacks to the beloved films, and we're also opening an entire new story and new character that we haven't seen before. And we talked about this. They did show us some history of him, which they don't often do in Star Wars movies and different creations. So I love that. I think that the cast is from what I can see, who was in Chapter 1, it's perfect. The cast, perf. What about you, Rye?
Well, I was really satisfied with the with Chapter 1, and I think I was a little more forgiving just because it was the first
Me
episode.
too.
I think since it was the first episode, I'm just excited to get more Star Wars. I'm excited to get a live action, new characters, new universe. So I was in the bag for this one. I'm interested to see the second episode because I think I'm going to be a little more critical. I'm going to have a little more critical role in the second episode of The Mandalorian. But Dave Filoni, he's been a part of the animated shows for forever. He got to do his first directing of a live action show. He actually, in this Q&A, which we'll talk about later, he had some really awesome things to say about that experience. But yeah, I'm really satisfied. I'm all in. Can't wait to see where it goes from here. And it left off on a heck of a cliffhanger.
And I refrained from saying what it was in the cold open. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I did give a little bit of a spoiler. I waited 24 hours. If you're not a ride or die Star Wars fan, then I feel like 24 hours was enough,
24 hours.
24 hours. So, but that's a great point. I think I am going to look at it a little bit more critically in chapter 2. I just wanted to see something.
What's going on?
Yeah.
He's going for bounties.
Yeah.
It's all a little bit backstory. I want to know what this guy's about.
I'm going to sip my tea while I watch chapter 2 and be a true critic. But let's get into that live Q&A. I thought it was an awesome Q&A. Sometimes they don't always go as well as you'd hope, and it gets kind of awkward if you watch some of these Q&As. I thought this was great, and I thought we got a lot of insight, more than I thought we would have got from the beginning of it, including that we've been pronouncing Kara's name wrong.
Yes, it's Kara.
It's Kara.
It's Kara.
But people think it's Kara.
Yeah, right. She was pretty salty about that.
Yeah.
You haven't come on screen yet. No one said
This is Gina Carano's character.
Gina Carano.
So yeah, she made that clear the first sentence she spoke.
In general, it seems like there's not many Karas, but a lot of Karas.
Jeff Graham, not a big Star Wars fan in the booth, but he's becoming one with us on the show.
I love a Kara. I love a Delavigne and I love a Carano. But do you think? Can you guys think of any Karas that are famous?
Kara Satchel. No, she went to my
No,
college.
I can't. That's a good question, Jeff.
If you
That's
guys
a
can
great
think
question.
of a famous Kara, comment down below.
Comment down below. I think Gina, what was funny was right before Gina spoke, Jon Favreau said she's a little tired. She was wrestling or fighting aliens in a sewer 2 hours ago.
Yeah, they were filming still that day. So
right. So was that
cool.
for season 2? Was that for this season? Reshoots? I don't know, but that was pretty neat.
I would be really surprised if it was for season 1.
For season 1, yeah.
That'd be crazy.
That would be a little crazy. But it's also, I was like, why'd you tell us that? Because that means she's alive if it is season 2. I don't know.
Oh my God!
We'll see. But
Okay.
it was a cool Q&A.
Yeah, give me some of your thought. What was interesting to you? What was new information for you?
Okay, so big, awesome, interesting stuff for me. I just alluded to it earlier. Dave Filoni, who directed episode 1, I think he has one more episode later.
He
this
is George
season.
Lucas's
Padawan.
Yeah,
he was his star. He was basically his son, and I think some people on the panel even said they referred to Dave Filoni as George Lucas's son. In that.
yeah, and he got emotional.
He really
when
did.
they panned to him. It was the cutest thing ever.
He even talked about his own dad, saying, "Man, I wish my dad was here because he would be so proud of me." And then he kind of got choked up. It was really quite special. You can just tell how much someone like him cares about this type of stuff, which is what's so great, and that's what the major takeaway was from this Q&A. Jon Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy put together a team of people that really do care about this stuff. Like, they didn't just go for big names, because there aren't huge names in this project. Werner Herzog's a big name, but not like a Leonardo DiCaprio.
Great talent, not massive pop culture icons.
Exactly. And that they cared yet. And they really care. And just all of them went across they all said their first day on set, what their experience was like. Carl Weathers got in depth on a few things, and it was a really awesome Q&A. They all do care.
That was my main takeaway, was the development of how these characters and cast got brought together. Pedro Pascal spoke about how Jon Favreau brought him in and showed him all the pictures, which if you watch chapter 1 of The Mandalorian, the end credits with those amazing pictures of the different characters, that was actually the pictures that they showed potential cast members before they were getting before they signed on to the project.
Concept art.
That's really cool.
So cool.
Really cool. And just to see the pure innocence of Pedro signing on to this, not really knowing what it was, but just knowing that it's Star Wars, and that's all he needed to know. And you could tell it's like, say less, John, I'm on. I'm in.
I'm all in.
So that was great.
It was off the cuff. It was a fun Q&A, and they really alluded to some exciting stuff coming up later in the season.
And I know you're a you do You direct
I direct
as well. So I thought it was really awesome when the director spoke and they were like, John, did you see the work I've done? I don't know if I fit in in the Star Wars realm as much, but he just knew. And I totally trust Jon Favreau in this space. I think that whatever he sees in these people, it's going to be perfect for the episodes that they're doing.
Yes, and shout out to Deborah Chow, who didn't get to say much at the Q&A, but she was there, and she did get to say how she felt like she was in a space where she was working with other directors. She wasn't used to that in other projects she's worked on. It felt very much like she could operate in her own wheelhouse, but she was also talking to all these other directors who were doing other episodes in the season because they weren't really doing it back to back. And I'm so excited to see her episode. I know hers drops next Friday. And again, the first female and first Asian woman to ever direct anything Star Wars. It's so exciting, and she's such a talented director. I love all of her other work.
Shout out my Asian American sister. So cool. She seems like such a badass. We're actually hoping to get her in studio, hopefully.
That'd be incredible.
Our next topic on The Mandalorian is a spoiler. So if you haven't seen Chapter 1, just mute us for a little bit. This was an article written by comicbook.com, and Carl Weathers spoke to them on Baby Yoda, which is what we see in the final scene of The Mandalorian. That's what I tweeted. That was a spoiler alert, because when you show me that level of cuteness, you cannot expect for me to keep that in. I can't.
It was really cute. He did say, so he said he has his own name, referring to this baby, spoiler, Yoda. We got the picture right there. He has his own name, and so this is a he, and he is very interesting and very knowledgeable and very cute. Mm-hmm. This is Apollo Creed talking. I never use that word, but he is a cute little guy. The species age differently. Perhaps it could live many centuries. Weathers pointed out that also you have to see this show to figure out who this baby Yoda really is and what the hell he's all about. Or even if he is really a baby Yoda. Fascinating comment, Steph.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff here. I do think it's the thing that really pops out to me here is that he's very knowledgeable. This looks like a 5-month-old, but we know it's a 50-year-old, which is what's really fascinating. Obviously, Yoda, he was 900 years old when he was training Luke, so this species absolutely ages differently, maybe slower. But the fact that this baby is so knowledgeable, I'm curious how that's going to be displayed this season.
I'm really curious too, and I keep reading a bunch of theories and people trying to understand the time at which this baby Yoda is 50 and with the timeline between Yoda and Yaddle, who is, so people are thinking, could it have been possible, even though he obviously practices a religion which Jedi aren't supposed to be in relationships? So
did Yoda mess around?
I don't know. Sounds messy. I'm here for it. I'm not sure, but really, it's an interesting comment. And I think if you're not in the Star Wars universe and you're not a fan like us, you would be like, what the heck is Carl Weathers talking about a cute baby Yoda? And why are these comments so important? But it is important in terms that it plays into the rest of the season. Do you think Baby Yoda will be a main point for The Mandalorian, or do you think it will be kind of one of the touching points?
I think it's going to be a touching point. I think that at the end of the episode where he doesn't execute this Baby Yoda, that was him saying, obviously he has a soul. He was given different orders too. IG-11 was told to execute it. He was told to bring it in alive or execute it. So I think it's going to play a big role in maybe him bringing this back to the rightful caretaker or owner or maybe a certain land. But for some reason, I just don't have a feeling that this is going to last the entire season. I think this might just be a jumping off point to other realms.
Yeah, I think because of the time at which The Mandalorian takes place, they can't have a character that has a massive effect on the galaxy necessarily without it not affecting any of the films.
Ooh, that's fascinating. I mean, the whole idea if Yoda did do or do not someone else. People in the chat are
that
giving
was amazing.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Manny Gonzalez says Yoda maybe had his own Yodette. Interesting.
I was going to ask Ryan, and I want to ask you guys in the chat, since Yoda doesn't have a species name that we know of, which is surprising for Star Wars, because Star Wars, as we talk about in our character corner, has such in-depth history on each character, each species, each planet. So it is interesting that Yoda, one of the most important characters ever, doesn't have a species. If you could name a Yoda species.
Yeah,
what
would you name
What
that
would you
species?
name that species?
What is the species name? Also, another comment from the chat, Ivan Soda, saying the Mandalorians have a code where they do not kill children. That's very fascinating because technically you could say this isn't a child because it's 50 years old.
That's true.
It does appear to be a child, though. So it's a big semantic thing, but that's a great point from the chat there. Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens episode 2, which is dropping tomorrow, late tonight. We'll see.
I feel like only a droid could have tried to kill something that looked like that.
Exactly.
Something with no emotional connection on that level. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, chapter 2 drops hopefully tonight. I want
11 p.m. again.
Yeah. Hit me
Do
at
it.
11. Friday is hard.
Not 3 a.m. Come on.
Yeah.
What else we got, Steph?
So, this is Maclunkey. Moving on to the important stuff. Thank you so much. Disney Plus dropped this week, and with it came 2 scenes that have, one of which, Maclunkey with Han Solo, has been in high debate for years because there's been multiple edits on this scene, and it plays into what the heroism of
Right. Did he
Han.
shoot first?
Did he shoot first? What do you think about them continuously changing it? Do you think it's that important?
Well, I mean, I actually never thought it was that important until I talked to someone about it, where they argued, hey, so in the original release of A New Hope, Han gets stopped by Greedo, and Greedo's like, you owe me money, and Han just shoots him first.
Yeah.
Showing that he's a scoundrel. He's not necessarily a good guy. And at the end of the movie, he kind of redeems himself. Now, George Lucas, upon a re-release, edited that so that his head shifted to the right, and then actually Greedo shot first, making him not a scoundrel, and that he's kind of retaliating to Greedo's shot. So it actually makes it does say something about his character because, one, he's just a scoundrel, and then that makes the ending of the film really impactful in that he's made a unique choice. He's changed as a character, and now he's fighting with the rebellion. Whereas if he's already a good guy, then the ending isn't that effective. So I do believe in this argument. Yes, Han did shoot first. I think this is so weird that on Disney Plus they add a new part of that scene where right before Greedo now shoots first, he shouts the word Maclunkey.
I'm sorry, what?
That word has never been uttered in Star Wars. What a weird thing to add. So random.
I need to know the meaning. Like, you don't just add this type of lingo and it not mean anything. Those types of edits cost money,
Yes.
time, resources, drama. I need to know what Maclunkey means.
What does it mean? So now it might just be he might be a swear word in Star Wars.
If so, I'm taking it. Because
I think we're
mean, I
taking it.
feel like there's a lot of emotion behind it. Maclunkey.
That's Maclunkey.
It sounds offensive.
That's horse Maclunkey.
It's horse Maclunkey.
It's just such a big choice to make. I mean, I know it sounds small, but for our listeners, like Steph said, this kind of decision is, this is the biggest film franchise of all time.
Ever.
You know that if you're going to add something, it is going to be deliberately scrutinized on many a podcast, including ours. So it has to mean something because otherwise, the FAQ,
Maclunkey?
Yeah.
Dumb Maclunkey.
Dumb Maclunkey?
The Maclunkey.
And
It's
then,
so random, but-
Rye, one other.
Yeah.
Or were you going to finish your thoughts
no,
on
no,
Maclunkey?
the other
yeah, I
scene.
want to hear about another rare deleted scene on Disney Plus.
Right. So what's so cool is all these movies, you can just go on Disney Plus and there's an extras button and it has all these deleted scenes. And, a bunch of them are well-known deleted scenes from the films that have been online. But there are a few that were pretty rare that you couldn't just fine unless you had maybe like a deluxe DVD package or a VHS package. There's this one from Return of the Jedi. It's with this commander named Commander Jarrod. He doesn't get a lot of screen time, but he's in the film Return of the Jedi.
None of the commanders do until last. Yeah.
You're totally right. But this guy, so they actually filmed extra scenes with him, and he was given this weird moral quandary on the Battle of Endor, where they're, in the space, they're taking out the Death Star, and he was told by the Emperor, if the rebels take out our shield, blow up Endor. And he's like, but wait, we have like so many battalions on there. We have so many of our own troops. He's like, do it. take out Endor. So he's faced with this weird choice in the movie, and they of course took these scenes out where after the shields are dropped, he has to make a decision on like, okay, should we start powering up to take out Endor and like kill a bunch of our own guys or the moon. It was really kind of fascinating, and you got to see a little behind the scenes. They're not fully edited. It's a lot of the raw footage and sound, and there's some green screens up, and he's just kind of looking out into the distance. It was really cool peek behind the curtain, and an awesome deleted scene where, wow, they really did have a bigger storyline for this kind of lesser known Commander Jared. But you guys can check that out. Disney Plus, Return of the Jedi extras.
Straight up, Disney Plus, I feel like, is existing for Star Wars fans. For the money that you pay monthly and what you get, each movie costs $20. You can't rent them anywhere. I mean, some of them are available on different streaming sites, but they're not available on Prime for free, like nothing. So even just having the movies available, then you have every single Star Wars show that's been created, animated series. And then you have deleted scenes. They don't need to do that, but they did it.
It's incredible.
And we're here for it.
We are so here for it. There's another one that Jeff has up right now. This is from A New Hope. This one you could probably find online if you don't have Disney Plus, but it's basically, there's all this talk of Luke in A New Hope, like, I'm going to Tashi Station to get some power converters. There's a deleted scene where he goes with one of his friends to Tashi Station to get the power converters.
I'm glad they deleted that.
Yeah, it's totally pointless.
Some of the Luke dialogue scenes are so funny.
In A New Hope, yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah, New Hope
they're pretty complainy, but you can also check that one out for A New Hope extras.
Gotta love that hat. Wow.
That's a fisherman's hat right there.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome, Rye. Thank you. So moving on to Rise of Skywalker news, our dear beloved J.J. Abrams gave us some insight onto kind of his mindset going into this new film, and he said that actually the Last Jedi director Rian Johnson is the one who reminded him that he's able to be more free and less stressed in a sense. And he told Total Film that on this one I let myself be, at least in the way I was approaching the thing, freer, and I was adhering to a kind of approach in the past film he was speaking about that felt right for Star Wars in my head. It was about finding a visual language, like shooting on locations and doing practical things as much as possible. And we continue that in Rise of Skywalker, and sorry, I lost my quote.
But
I also found myself doing things that I'm not sure I would have been as daring to do on The Force Awakens. Ryan helped remind me that that's why we're here on these movies, not to do something that you've seen before. So I love that Ryan is being he could be bitter. Instead, he's being like a director friend, this is the second time in this week that we're hearing Star Wars directors be friends and kind of more collaborative, because I feel like once you're in the family, you're in the family. I know Rian Johnson has a lot of heat on his back, but he's still in the Star Wars fam.
Absolutely. And we were talking, I think last week or a few weeks ago, if Rian Johnson was still going to get his trilogy, because, The Last Jedi was such a divisive film. A lot of Star Wars fans didn't like it. It's just a fact. A lot of people weren't into it. I personally love it. We personally really like it. But it didn't land for a lot of people. And I think that's because, Force Awakens was criticized a little bit for being too much like the original Star Wars. Last Jedi was criticized for being so different. They went for it in so many different areas, amongst other things. It
was like the IKEA of Star Wars. It was so modern.
It was very modern. It was all over it was a lot of new stuff, which I really was into. And I think a lot of people were kind of curious if JJ was going to maybe retcon a lot of the stuff that Rian Johnson introduced in The Last Jedi, because, at the end of Force Awakens, Rey hands off that lightsaber, and the beginning of Last Jedi, he throws it away. Like, there are some ideas that JJ was clearly prepping that Rian just turn the other way on.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious to see how JJ would react to making this new film. And you could say, hey, maybe these comments are a little him just being kind to the previous director, but he got pretty specific in this quote. And I think when you're saying stuff like, man, Rian Johnson's film inspired me to be more freer, to take more risks, that's not just praising, politeness to the director before you. He's specifically saying, yeah, I loosened up a little bit more on this one. I'm not trying to just make Return of the Jedi. I'm going to do my own thing. And I think that's really cool because J.J. Abrams, he's such a talented director. And I love Force Awakens, but the one criticism that everyone has of it is it's so similar to A New Hope.
I love J.J. Abrams, and I think this is a really powerful quote for multiple reasons. And I think that we know J.J. Abrams is kind of like if we were to create a Star Wars film. He's been a ride or die since he was a kid. Since day one. So it was a ton of pressure for him. He probably felt in a sense that he needed to have a similar storyline. Like when you have that amount of pressure and need to please the fans, which you are also one yourself, I could definitely see how The Force Awakens happened like that. And I'm glad that he's having this sort of realization because I think that this could be the best one.
And linking to Last Jedi. Saying that, hey, I know some people didn't love it, but guess what? Rian Johnson reminded me of what these movies are, like to take risks, to go for it. I got really excited reading this quote.
Me too. Well, that just excites me because I just think that all creative projects are so much better when the people creating it feel free to do what they do best. And when they're trying to adhere to the fans, that's awesome. Like, we've seen it happen on Twitter a few times with what's that? The blue character that they redid the animation for.
Oh, Sonic.
That just totally went by. But I think that sometimes we are right. Like Sonic looked like absolute trash and they changed it thanks to Twitter. But with Star Wars, they can't listen too much because we have so many differing opinions. We are a very needy fan base.
True.
But we will, I just think that we're going to be happier with him feeling freer.
Yeah. Hey, take off the chains. This is JJ Unchained, okay? Django! Yeah, there's Sonic.
There. So to the left is Force Awakens, and to the right is
See, I don't know if that's fair. Force Awakens wasn't bad. I love Force Awakens.
I love Force Awakens. I love Rey, which is our next story, Daisy Ridley. That's how you pivot. I loved Force Awakens as a young female Jedi myself. I needed to that.
Yeah. And that's in directing Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. So moving on, some news from our girl, Daisy Ridley. She was just glowing about how this has been her most enjoyable filming experience. And I just wanted to read some of her quote. She said, "It's the first time I've filmed more confident because I feel like there was nothing else I could have done." This was to an interview with Marie Claire. And she said, "The third one for me was the best. It's a big film for everyone. I did all the emotions. I did frowns. I did smiles. It was the sort of biggest breath. And I think that's also why I had such a good time because I got to do so much SHIT, like physically, emotionally, and I got to work with so many people. There was a scene that touched me a lot. It was our last day shooting in Jordan and the natural light was fading and it was so exciting. It was just a short scene. We filmed very fast, but the crew was shaken in a way that I had not seen before. And I thought, my God, if this is people's immediate reaction when the scene isn't even ready, imagine what it will be like in the movies."
What is that scene,
What's
Steph?
the scene?
What is the scene in Jordan?
That makes me think and that she's not going to be on the dark side.
Yo. I mean, we've seen footage in the trailer, but yeah, such an amazing quote. I mean, this builds on what we were just kind of saying. JJ felt freer. I think this movie, I'm so excited. It sounds like everyone had an incredible time. Just hearing that Daisy Ridley, this was her best filming experience. The vibe on set, JJ Abrams is such a great director, and apparently everyone loves him. But to hear that this was her favorite filming experience, that's so cool. And I don't take those comments lightly. I do listen to that, and I'm just so intrigued by the scene that's shot on Jordan. And it sounded like they just kind of shot it. It maybe not have been a planned scene. They said that they did it quickly. Natural light was fading. I'm like, what is this scene?
I am so excited.
It's so fascinating.
I know. And I it's just so good to hear because I think the worst things that have happened in the Star Wars realm for the past few years is when we hear the drama behind the scenes. It's just like, this is such an amazing story. Why is the experience of making it bad sometimes with Solo and things like that? Like, I just want to hear good things like this.
Just hear good things. I think Jordan is where they shot a lot of Jakku. So maybe they're going back to Jakku.
I'm here for that.
I'm here for it.
So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I mean, Daisy Ridley, she's just the best. And
I can't say enough good things about her.
Can't say enough good things. So I just think it's really cool when you have your stars who are obviously they're all in, but really excited and being as vocal about the film this early, which I don't remember for the past two movies. I think a lot of it was always shrouded in secrecy. The cast didn't say anything to anyone except for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the movie. We're like over a month out, and yeah, she's already like praising the film and talking about how much fun she had. I couldn't be more excited.
Me too. And I think that's a smart marketing plan too, because I do think it's good to go in silence. A lot of times we saw it with Game of Thrones, and you just like, it's hard when you're interviewing because a lot of people want to set you up to give spoilers, and that does suck because we want spoilers, but it's not as fun of an experience when you know everything that's going to happen. But you can be vocal about stuff like this, and I'm glad she is because it just makes me more excited.
It makes me more excited too, and I hope we get to hear other members of cast talk about how excited they are. I feel like the next couple of weeks we're not going to get as many stories like this. It's because it's going to be all Mandalorian, right? Everyone's excited for Mandalorian. We have Star Wars content from now till the release of The Rise of Skywalker. So yeah, I mean, I hope we get to hear more about it. I think that's only going to help generate the buzz. And yeah, it's great to hear that she had an awesome time.
I agree. So finally, we have video game news. I know you pre-ordered a Jedi Fallen Order. It comes out Friday.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. And it seems really exciting. It takes place before the events of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and it reportedly reveals the origins of the dark side's massive weapon.
Right.
So wowzers, I love when they do this. I love when they integrate storylines and new characters and history into different segments of their creation. Mediums, exactly. So what are you most looking forward to in the game?
Well, what's great is it's not the origin of the Death Star. It's the origin of Starkiller Base, which is 30 years later from there in Force Awakens.
Yeah, and massive. God.
I know, really big.
That's like every time the dark side pulls out their weapons, I just think, how? But then
it makes me wonder, are they compensating for something?
Maclunkey. Yeah, I mean, this game, it's really exciting because, there have been a lot of awesome Star Wars video games over the past couple of years. But ever since LucasArts, their video game station kind of went out of business, got bought out. It's gone to EA, and for EA, we've gotten the Battlefront games, which are kind of
the Battlefront.
They're fun,
games.
yeah.
They're fun. They're not anything mind blowing, but they're so fun to just play around on.
It depends. I think it depends on the fan. Like, I love video games that put me in a movie, that make me feel like I'm in the world, and that's what those games do for me.
Totally, you're one of the characters.
Exactly, and there was a bit of a campaign storyline in the second one where they had a character played by, I think it's Janina Gavankar. She's a great actress. But it also took place in a similar time period to this. It was kind of right after A New Hope, and she was part of this Inferno squad. But anyway, it was a cool campaign, cool story. This is the first Star Wars video game we're getting since these new batch of films that actually has a really fascinating narrative and a really cool campaign. I couldn't be more excited. We're following a new Jedi going across the galaxy, Cal Kestis, a Padawan, and he survived Order 66, and it looks like a really cool kind of RPG game where it's a little bit more open world. There's not just like one set mission by mission. You can kind of go to different planets and do all the missions there. There's no exact order to things. You kind of pick your own path.
And what's cool is that those are what the voice actors look like.
Right.
The main characters, obviously, not the
Whoa.
other species.
Other species, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all. I just think as an actor, that'd be freaking awesome to see yourself
cool.
just like being in a game, but looking. I mean, it's 2K, but Star Wars.
Exactly, and it's a whole new story, which is what's so cool. And I think we're gonna get to a bunch of new planets and just experiencing a new Star Wars campaign, which we haven't gotten in a while. So this is a big game. It's pretty expensive. There's a lot going into it, and it's dropping tomorrow. How much is it? I think it's around $60 for if like you go to Best Buy or anything.
That's more than $2K, I think.
It's more than $2K, but I think it's very much worth it. I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it for $59.99, I believe.
So you got $1 off.
I guess cent off. I mean, there was still tax, so. Probably more. Maclunkey.
That sounds like Maclunkey to me, but I would buy it too.
But really exciting. I mean, it's just more mythology to the Star Wars canon, more stories to be told, and it's on a video game format. They just haven't had a game like this yet. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear the reception for those gamers out there. I hear a lot of comparisons to the game Dark Souls, and that's
really?
similar. Yeah, it's similar to that. So that I'm really curious to see how it goes and if it grabs your attention right away. The one big criticism of those Battlefront games, as amazing as they look and as fun as they are, I think after a while there's an arcade factor.
Oh, totally.
But it might get a little repetitive and
you
die a little easily. So I'm curious to see how this
It's not
gets
like
reception.
a start to, you're not getting really anything out of it other than just being in the universe of it.
Exactly.
So
Here's what I'll say though. I'm a gamer a little bit, and Dark Souls is a great game, but very, very challenging. Kind of like notoriously challenging.
Like difficult.
Yeah. Like it's a high skill ceiling.
Wow.
Do you know if that's going to be a component to this?
That's
new
what
game?
I've heard. I've actually heard it's very difficult, and
Interesting.
And that people, if you just start on the hard mode, I've heard people play that for a few minutes, get a little frustrated, and have turned down the difficulty. I don't know what they've changed. That was reviews that came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, so they might have changed something since then. But that's interesting to hear you say that, Jeff, because that totally falls in line with what I've been reading, and that Dark Souls is super difficult. So this game might be really hard.
well, we'll just see tomorrow. I'm excited to hear what you and another producer at our studio, I'm sure Vito's gonna.
Vito's got to be playing
Vito's
it.
got to be playing it.
Yeah.
So we will definitely get some insight on that. And if you guys are playing it, please let us know. And also, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit that like button. Leave us a comment after this video ends so we can keep the conversation going. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, give us those 5 stars. Leave us a review there because we love to talk on any platform with you guys because there's not enough time to talk about Star Wars in just this new show.
That's right. You're our co-pilots.
That's true.
So punch it.
Punch a comment.
Punch that like button.
Punch that like button, baby. Okay, should we get into our special segment?
I think we should.
Let's start with...
There's a theory.
Here we go.
Putting on the Poindexter glasses. All right, well, the first theory. All right, we'll start off with this. There is a theory
Dun, dun, dun.
that Anakin Skywalker, little Annie, is in Rise of Skywalker.
What?
Whoa, right? Now, let's back this up. So Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, perished at the end of Return of the Jedi. He was a Force ghost at the end.
Yes.
So this theory outlines, all right, if we know the Emperor's back, what if Darth Vader's back in some form, shape, or whatever? Because we know Anakin had turned at the end. Yeah, we got an awesome image up right there. He's to the left, obviously. He's to the left there. This theory kind of outlines just all these possibilities of that. If Palpatine could save others from death, he could save himself. And that might be why Palpatine's back. We could also get Hayden Christensen to come back in a Force type of way. We've seen a lot of unique elements to the Force in these new movies. In The Last Jedi, we saw Yoda, as a Force ghost, send a lightning bolt into that Jedi temple and light it on fire. Like, the powers of a Force ghost are kind of unknown. I would think it'd be really cool and quite poetic, and that George Lucas has said all along, this is Anakin's story, Darth Vader's story from all 9 films. We haven't had much mention of Vader in these new trilogies. So what if
chills.
Hayden Christensen came back, Force Ghost Anakin, to deliver some kind of information in the final battle with Rey and maybe Palpatine? I think that'd be really special.
Whoa.
Mind blown.
Whoa. You know, like, Darth Vader is my favorite villain of all time. One of my favorite characters of all time. He's my guy, Anakin Skywalker. I loved Anakin Skywalker. I love the movies he was featured in before he turned to the dark side. And I would be just ecstatic. I'm curious in what would be his mission?
Would it work?
Would it work? Also, we do see in one of the trailers that were released that Darth Vader's mask gets destroyed even more than it was.
Dismantled. Yeah, they mess it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically blown up. So I don't know if that's symbolic as well. Maybe that's what he needed to come out.
Right. I mean, I'm just curious what the fans think. So comment below if you're down for Hayden Christensen to come back in episode 9 in some way, shape, or form. I'm a little pessimistic about it. It all depends how. It just is how. If he just pops in, In a montage, I think that'd be cool. But if he has a major role and they haven't really been leading up to that, it might feel a little out of place.
It would be pretty insane to see a conversation or some sort of interaction between him and Rey, because I think what they're teeing up Rey to have going on in this final movie is a conflict, which obviously is where Anakin went wrong because he chose the wrong side of the conflict.
You're right.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
All right. Thank you for your theory.
You're welcome.
That theory. And moving on, we have our character corner because, like we've been teasing throughout the episode, Star Wars gives us so much history. Each character, even if they're in a frame of a movie, has a rich history behind it. So who's on deck today, Ryan?
Who's on deck? This is actually a character that didn't even have a frame
in
a movie, but his name was mentioned so many times in Attack of the Clones, and that is Master Sifo Dyas. Do you remember this name, Steph? Master Sifo Dyas in Attack of the Clones, when Obi-Wan Kenobi goes to Kamino and he's like, I'm trying to find this bounty hunter, Jango Fett. And like, well, your clone army's ready. What clone army? Oh, Master Sifo Dyas ordered the clone army. We actually have a soundbite, Jeff, of this. You turn it up a little, Jeff? There we go.
That his order will be met on time.
I'm sorry, it's Master...
Jedi Master Sifo Dyas is still a leading member of the Jedi
And he's like, he's
Council,
dead.
Is he not?
Master Sifo Dyas was killed almost 10 years ago.
Wow. Oh.
So
awkward.
It's awkward,
I've been building this for him. He doesn't want it anymore.
But they take it, which is what's interesting. And in the movies, they never really harken back to that character. They're like, this Jedi Master must have ordered this clone army, and they took it and used it, but the guy who ordered it died.
This is good, Rye.
In the Clone Wars, for all those who haven't seen the Clone Wars, they answer this big mystery, and they actually bring this character back. So I'm just going to read this real quick. First of all, Sifo Dyas believed the galaxy would soon be plunged into war, way before the Clone Wars. So he was kind of planning ahead. He ordered this clone army for their defense. And after all these other Jedi Masters rejected it, he just kind of went out on his own, which was sort of him maybe even leaning a little bit towards the dark side, which is quite fascinating. After he died, Obi-Wan went to the planet, found out that this army was ordered, and the Jedi Order kind of changed their mind. They said, yeah, we actually do need this clone army, and it ended up working in their favor until Order 66. So in the Clone Wars, they go to find out where Sifo Dyas had died. It turns out he had been in a wreckage and they never saw a body. And they send Master Plo Koon, Anakin, all these people there. And then you find out that this Lord Tyrannus, who was actually Count Dooku, was kind of behind the whole thing. And he had lured Sifo Dyas in to order them for this long game of that eventual Order 66. So that was the character corner for today. That was the story of Master Sifo Dyas.
Wow. I'm not going to lie. Master Sifo Dyas sounds like an STD.
Sifo Dyas.
I have Sifo Dyas.
Yeah, listen.
It's been a rough go. Really interesting because that is a pivotal moment in a movie that decided the rest of what happened.
Right. Here's all these Clone War troopers. We're not going to tell you how they got them. But they answered it in that TV show. So I implore y'all, now that you have Disney Plus, go to that final season of Clone Wars. And it's in those final 5 episodes.
Amazing.
Check it out.
Our final segment, Words of Wisdom. So this comes from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Strike me down and I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Ooh.
Just gives me chills for so many reasons because this is so applicable to our everyday lives because we are constantly getting BS thrown at us and bad things happen, but you should always fight back and become better than you were before. And I think that anytime Obi-Wan had a conflict, he came back stronger. Even though he was quiet, he was fierce.
Silent but deadly.
Exactly.
And if he got knocked down, he got up again.
He did.
You can never keep him down.
He did.
He did.
Oh my God. Great meme
There.
photo.
Great
Thanks
meme
for
there,
the meme.
Yeah. That's an awesome word of wisdom. So for everyone out there, if you get knocked down,
get back up again.
Get back up.
Gosh. Well, Rye, what a week.
Should we get out of here?
We should get out of here. Thanks so much for joining me. Thank you guys for watching us at home. In the meantime, Rye, where can our Star Wars fam keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Nilsen, RYNILSEN, and on Instagram at Ryan Nilsen _. A few shout outs from the chat. Again, Manny Gonzalez, Pocket Rocket, Raccoon, Ivan Soto, Jesse Janney, Chris Clark, and oh my god, there's one more I saw in here. Oh yeah, Laura Nilsson's in the chat.
Laura
Nilsson's in the chat. Shout out to Laura Nilsson.
Ashante. It is my honor.
It's our honor. And obviously Brandon Stounsky, Realtor, and Rody Stark 23. Thank you all so much. Please like this video, comment, subscribe. Steph, where can they find you?
I'm Steph Sabra. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabra. And until next week, may the Force be with you. And Rye,
Chewie, get us out of here.
For producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.